Welcome to the Women in Industry podcast. My name is Kirsty Davies-Chinnock, and today I'm joined by Tanya Fisher, who is an engineering team leader in BCP Engine Systems at Caterpillar. Caterpillar is the world's leading manufacturer of construction and mining equipment, off-highway diesel and natural gas engines, industrial gas turbines and diesel electric locomotives. For nearly 100 years, they've been helping customers build a better, more sustainable world and are committed and contributing to a reduced carbon future. Their innovative products and services, backed by their global dealer network, provide exceptional value that helps customers succeed. And I think we've all heard of Caterpillar. So welcome, Tanya. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So I've been stalking your LinkedIn a little bit, which is nothing new for guests on this podcast. And you started off your academic career with a degree in mechanical engineering at University of Sheffield. Why did you choose mechanical engineering? What made you choose that?
So I guess engineering as a degree was first suggested to me by my physics teacher at school. He had been a mechanical engineer before he became a teacher. And he kind of saw, I guess, what he thought I was interested in and what I was good at school, and thought that engineering, would be a good fit for me. I've always been one of those strange people that quite likes maths. I've always enjoyed science. I guess also I spent a lot of time growing up on my grandpa's farm. So a lot of my summer holidays, I always just wanted to be, out on the farm with him, getting my hands dirty, loved the equipment. My mum worked in the office on the farm, so yeah, I never wanted to be in there. I wanted to be, out and about, getting my hands on. So that was really why I came to engineering. It was kind of a mix of you wanting to get hands-on and solve problems, and also using what I enjoyed at school.
I think that the definition of an engineer is they fix things, whether it's a piece of equipment or a problem or an idea, they just make it work. I have to ask, how old were you when you first drove a tractor?
Um, in terms of just sitting on my grandpa's knee, kind of, with the steering wheel driving along, probably not very old. Definitely single figures.
But it's great to have those experiences and see engineering in the real world, rather than just as a formula. It sounds like your experiences together really did steer you in sort of the right degree for you. Um, and you were a member of several organisations at university as well, Women in Engineering Society, I believe. How did that help you develop your skills?
Yeah, so I guess the Women in Engineering Society at the University of Sheffield, kind of, it became a thing whilst I was there. I was one of the first people to, I guess, be involved in that society. And I think that in particular it was very good for, I guess, networking with people in industry, actually understanding what engineers do outside of a university environment, because it's quite different working in industry to being in an academic environment. Um, I guess the other thing that being part of society has taught me at university is those skills that doing a degree doesn't teach you. So things like your time management and organization, how you balance that with your academic work. I guess, learning how to work as a team and kind of in meetings and run things a bit more how you would do in industry. Um, I often tell people the anecdote that, when I was interviewed for my graduate scheme at Caterpillar, I think I answered one of the questions in the interview with an example of something I'd done in my degree. Everything else was, it was additional stuff that I'd done as well, as my degree. Everyone that's applying for a graduate role in a big company like Caterpillar has done a degree. It's about what else you can bring to the table.
And I think those skills are not more important. Well, they're often as important as the academic qualifications. and the theoretical understanding as well, because it's giving you a chance to use those skills straight off rather than having to learn them whilst on the graduate placement. And that was a 2-year graduate scheme you did with Caterpillar, wasn't it? That put
Yes.
you in loads of different areas. I've got a list here: current product engineering, marketing and product support, manufacturing engineering and electrical systems, design engineering for the compact wheel loader product group. So spending time in all of those different areas, did that narrow down sort of what area you particularly wanted to work in, that you were passionate about?
So I think all of that kind of affirmed that where I was happiest is, I guess, it's solving a technical problem, give a problem to solve and work out what the solution is. I guess all of those placements were very valuable in terms of teaching me how to do that well. I mean, it's all very well being able to design something, but it needs to be able to be assembled, put together in a manufacturing space. There is a skill to designing in a way that makes that easy for people. Um, the same thing with kind of marketing and product support. You have to design something that can be easily serviced, repaired, um, and something that's what the customer needs, really. Like, engineers can have lots of great ideas, but they're I guess the few special ideas are the ones that it solves a problem that the customer actually needs to be solved, and it's something that adds value to them. Um, one of the one of the most exciting roles that I did when I was, I guess, on in those placements was I got to manage a prototype build of a machine. So it was the first time we'd ever built that that model of machine. Kind of finished the first pass of the design, and I managed the build from start to finish, making sure we had all the parts ordered, everything was in the right place, the order it was going to be put together, and kind of manage the team of people that were doing that. And that was an absolutely brilliant role for, I guess, learning who does what around Caterpillar, and um, networking with different people, and also just the real satisfaction of seeing something come together for the first time.
That sounds like an amazing experience. How did you feel when it was, right in front of you and it's like, I did that? Not you personally, you and the team, but you've got to look at it and go, I did
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's I guess one of the physically and, I guess, time demanding jobs that I've done at Caterpillar. A lot went into it, and to see it finished at the end was, yeah, just really satisfying. And to me, that's kind of it's what engineering is all about. It's starting with that blank sheet of paper, and then um, just having something finished and that works at the end.
You can't beat that when it gets to the end product, in any kind of manufacturing or engineering role. And you've recently been promoted, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, so now you're in your new position. What are you most excited about achieving in it?
So my new position, I guess it's really a chance to kind of move from being, I guess, an individual contributor to learning how to deliver a bigger section of a project, I guess, through other people. So I have a responsibility in my role at the moment for an engine installation for a product update. So we're moving a product to a new engine that's compliant with latest emissions regulations, and I have responsibility for the whole installation of the engine, so everything that connects the engine with the rest of the machine. Obviously, that's too big a job for one person, so I've got two design engineers that I direct the work for day to day, as well as I'm primarily responsible for cooling systems, which is my main background within the engine system. So I'm looking forward to, I guess, having that bigger responsibility and a bit of a leadership role in a project, as being the go-to person and kind of reporting out to leadership, just being generally, more visible to, I guess, people higher up in the organization, and just, you know, being the person that removes the roadblocks for other people and helping them to be able to do their job well, which is something that I'm quite passionate about.
It's something that a lot of people don't consider when it's working as part of a team, is looking for those roadblock blocks, looking for those pain points. We all look at them sort of in a sales or a customer service way to look at what the customer needs, but sometimes they're in-house as well. And it could just be changing software. It could be, changing hours. It could be getting parts on the shelf. There's lots of different ways that having a fresh pair of eyes in to look at it can really be very valuable, because engineers are very good at doing it the way they've always done it.
Yeah.
And talking about your additional skills, you mentioned on LinkedIn about how being a new parent had given you additional skills for the workplace. You were quite comfortable at work. You knew what you were doing there. You went home, became a parent, and it's like, I don't know how to do this. I've got to learn really quickly.
Yeah, they kind of give you this baby at the hospital, and it's yours, and you take them home. They have no instruction manual. Nobody tells you what you're supposed to be doing. Nobody checks that you're qualified for the job. Um, you just kind of have to figure it out as you go, and you have to get good at it pretty quickly, because the stakes are quite high. Yeah, I think it's you have to get comfortable with being a bit uncomfortable and not really knowing what you're doing. You do learn as you go. It gets easier. I joked with my health visitor when she when we had an appointment once that I wish it was like when you have a digger that's got a problem, and you plug your laptop in and it tells you what the code is, and then you look what that code means. So you go, oh yeah, that's the problem. It's a slight oversimplification. It's not always that easy to diagnose a problem, but yeah, babies, they don't have fault codes. They just cry, and it could mean any number of things.
That is so true. But they do, they just let you go and you sort of go home. And when I had my son, I was single, and I was like, the first night I'm in the house on my own with this baby. And I'm like, I'd had a section as well, so it's quite difficult to move. And I'm like, up every 2 hours feeding him. I was like, I don't think but he's 27 and still alive. So, I'm taking that as a win.
That's absolutely a success.
So what skills do you think you brought back into your role from, becoming a mom?
So I think patience is a huge thing. So you have to sometimes learn to step back and take a breath, um, and really kind of look at a situation and work out how to, I guess, move forward. The other one, I guess, is time management. And I mean, I'm lucky. My partner is very supportive, and he helps out a lot at home. And he did when I was on maternity leave, and he does now I'm back at work, and he's fantastic. But mums, and probably single mums even more so, they're masters of time management. And I'm I'm so much more kind of strategic with my time at work now, because I want to go to work, and I want to be as effective as I possibly can whilst I'm there, so that I can go home at the end of the day and spend time with my son. Um, and I think I'm so conscious now of having agendas for meetings and making sure that, does it really need a meeting? Could it be an email? Just way more respectful of the time that people have available during the day, and really trying to make the most of it.
I think that's a really important way to look at it. I think over the years, women, particularly women in the workplace, have had this, oh, you can have it all, you can have it all. You can't have it all, something has to give. And as long as you're aware of that, it's, I think for me, when I came back to work, I was 100% at work. And then when I was at home with baby or a toddler, I was 100% at home, and until he got a bit older, because you just sort of there's no point being at work and feeling guilty you're not at home, and no
Yeah.
point being at home and feeling guilty you're not at work. You're just going to drive yourself crazy, I think, that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you've developed these additional skills from your placement, from the roles you've had at Caterpillar, from becoming a mom, but you've also volunteered with the Girl Guiding Association for what, about 15 years. You obviously enjoy the organisation to be volunteering for so long with them. What do you get from it, and what do you give the organisation?
Yeah, so it's not quite 15 years because I did have a break from it whilst I was at university, but on and off, I guess, for 15 years. And I mean, girl guiding, I guess, I've been part of it since I was about 11. And I guess it got me through some, I guess, difficult periods of it as a teenager, and it gave me loads of challenges and opportunities, like to travel places and things that just do things that I wouldn't have done if I hadn't have been part of it. And part of it is that I just want to make sure that young people have the same opportunities as I did, and someone has to facilitate that. So it gives me a lot of pleasure to kind of see young people achieve things that they didn't think that they could achieve, and I guess give girls a voice in a world that doesn't always make it easy for them. Um, my guide leader, I guess, was also one of the people that really encouraged me into engineering, and kind of told me to pursue like my academic interests. Um, it's also been a really good place for me to like develop my skills as a leader outside of work. So, you know, in an organization like that, as a volunteer, you can get into you're in a leadership role long before you've kind of developed into that position at work. One of I guess when I was 18 and I was studying for my A levels, the leader of the guide group that I was helping at the time, she actually passed away after a short illness, and it was difficult because she was a big person in my life, and there was a choice of like, are we gonna? There was me and two other 18-year-olds studying for our A levels at the time. Like, are we going to just stop, or are we going to carry on? So there was three of us that carried on running that unit until the end of the summer term that year, whilst we kind of juggled around revision for A-level exams. And it was a huge kind of learning experience. And it was one of those examples of, you find yourself in a situation and you've got a choice to sink or swim. And we kind of chose the option to, I guess, swim and just go with it. And you can learn a lot from experiences like that.
Sometimes
Um,
you just need to jump in and see if you can make it to the other side of the river, don't you? And I think by you and the other two girls who did that, whilst I'm sure you got a lot out of it yourselves in learning to do a lot of things in a very short period of time, you also made sure that all the girl guides got to continue that term, which is, really, really important for them.
yeah, and I guess it gave them an opportunity to find another leader to take it over when we went off to university as well. Whereas once, a group closes down, it's often quite difficult to then get it up and running again. So it just gave a little bit more time to work stuff out.
So you've achieved an awful lot in your career so far. Have you got any particular goals that you've got on the list to achieve by the end of this year?
Yeah, so I think my main sort of professional goal this year is to really kind of grow my network. Like the the industry and also even just Caterpillar is just it's a vast organization. There are lots of people that I don't know, and probably more importantly, who don't know me. I think I've reached a point in my career where it's not just about who you know, it's about who knows you and who you are. So my, I guess, challenge to myself this year is that I want to talk to more people, and I want them to understand who I am, why I do what I do, what I'm passionate about, what I want to do next, to kind of help with that career growth at the next stage. Um, it's something that does not come naturally and is not comfortable for me. So it's pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. Again, I guess coming on a podcast probably is probably as part of ticking off that goal.
Well, it's a very good podcast. We've got 5 episodes out so far at the time of recording this, and we've had well over 500 plays. And we've only been out a month, so hopefully by the time yours is out, we'll be in the thousands. And lots of people will get to know Tanya. Um, and a few people, when I talk to them and I ask this next question, I can completely imagine that at 15, they, would have no idea what this would be their career. But for some, it's sort of like hear of everything you've done, or your experience at school when you were doing physics. Did you think at 15 you'd be doing this for a career?
Um, Probably not. I guess my school was an all-girls school. It was also a visual arts specialist school, so engineering didn't typically feature very, very high on any of the like people's lists of what they wanted to do. It was quite unusual and a bit of a step away from the norm to want to be an engineer. I guess I probably would have struggled to see how I would adapt to working in an environment that's like 95% men, having come from an all girls school and
Mm.
just not really interacted with men or boys that much. But I think university really helped prepare for that, because there are, I guess, not that many women on engineering courses at university still. There's probably a few more than there are in industry. It's going to take a while to I guess filter down. Um, but yeah, I have to say I think that would have been something that I couldn't really see for myself. But then I could tell myself now that those fears would probably be unfounded, because I have some great, really supportive colleagues at both at university and also at Caterpillar. I'm very involved with Caterpillar's Women's Initiative Network, so yeah, it's a supportive network of other female colleagues, and more, I guess, male colleagues are getting involved with that because they want to be allies and they recognise that there's a skills gap, and there are lots of very capable women out there that could fill that skills gap, and they want to know how they can help. So yeah, I feel like 15-year-old Tanya would have struggled to see how I would fit in this environment, but yeah, I certainly don't think that, I guess, if anyone's listening and they're in that position, it's not been the reality for me, and I really feel like I do fit in the industry and I've got something to offer it. And yeah, there are lots of 15-year-old girls out there that would have something to offer the industry.
I agree completely. And I think one of um, the issues that we see is that there's a lot of if you can't see, you can't be it. She's one of the ideas behind this podcast to say, look, there are these absolutely amazing women out there in non-traditional roles that, you would assume would be done by a man, but they can be done by a woman as well. And so let's show women in those roles, as well as the great men in those roles. It's not one or the other, working both together, having great allies, having great colleagues of, both men and women is fantastic. And it's really, really good to see more and more men really pushing for equality in the workplace, because, as you say, there is a skills gap. And, women are very good at looking at a list of skills required and going, oh, I can only do 8 of them, I won't apply for that job,
Yeah.
rather than just going for it. And I've got one final question for you. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
So it was probably from I had a mentor that I was assigned when I started on the graduate scheme at Caterpillar. So I was randomly assigned. So I really looked in with this mentor. But he told me that if you are not a little bit uncomfortable about something that you're being asked to do or a new role, then you're not growing. So it's good to feel a bit uncomfortable about something. If something scares you a little bit, that probably means it's a great thing to do for your personal growth. Like when someone contacts you and asks you to be a guest on the podcast and you think, oh, well, that sounds a bit scary. So like, yes, I should definitely do that. I should definitely do that. So yeah, that was the best piece of advice I've ever received. And I guess I forgot that a little bit before I went on maternity leave, and I kind of got comfortable with where I was, and realized that I maybe wasn't growing my career in the way that I wanted to be doing. So yeah, I came back from maternity leave having remembered that and was ready to have difficult conversations to make that next step in my career. And I guess 3 months later, I got promoted to my engineering team leader position. So it worked. So that's the best piece of advice I've had.
Oh, I hope I haven't scared you too much. And thank you for accepting the invitation to come on the podcast. Tanya, it's been lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.